And now, ladies and gentlemen, 12 rounds of boxing for the vacant IBF Middleweight Championship of the World. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the black trunks with gold trim, weighing in at 159 pounds. From Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, North Philly to be exact, he brings a professional record of 22 victories, only one defeat. 16 of the 22 victories by KO. Ladies and gentlemen, the #1 ranked middleweight in the world, Bernard, the Executioner Hopkins. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the white trunk with gold trim, weighing 159½ pounds, from Pensacola, Florida. This 1988 Olympic silver medalist has turned pro with a record of 21-0, 20 by KO. Introducing the undefeated #2 ranked middleweight in the world, Roy Jones Jr.
One guy is going to really get more respect than he should from the other guy, and from then on I think it's going to be one guy really dominating the fight.
Bernard Hopkins usually attempts to start very fast. He has attacked many of his opponents from the opening bell. He will probably have more respect for Jones. Jones says that Hopkins is the best man he's ever fought. Hopkins says the same about Jones.
That's why it's such a great match. There goes Jones in with that explosive leaping left hook.
Jones hurt Glenn Wolfe with the left hook, finished him off with right hands to the body. The left hook was also instrumental in his knockout of Percy Harris back in December here on HBO. Hopkins with a right hand over the top, glancing blow.
Get out.
Both men like to box and punch. Infighting like that will probably be rare, Gil.
Yes, but and the thing that surprises me about Roy Jones is he very seldom uses a jab. There he threw a right-hand lead. He looks to bomb you with that first big punch right away. I think that's one of the errors he makes. He should set the guy up with a good stiff left jab. And Hopkins is not jabbing either. There's that big right hand to Jones again.
Kind of wild over the top, but he caught a piece of Hopkins with it. Bernard Hopkins a little bit more defensive here in the first round than is normally the case. And Jones appears perhaps frustrated by Hopkins' unwillingness to come to him. He's leaping with the left hook and throwing wildly over the top with the right.
And Hopkins is a very, very solid professional fighter. Moves well, punches well, side to side. But again, he's in with a very flashy, unorthodox guy in Roy Jones. Both fighters are showing a lot of respect for each other.
In his 21 fights, Roy Jones has not had to solve a lot of riddles. Most of his opponents have been sitting ducks. The only route-going performance was against Jorge Castro, who also went the route against the hard-punching Terry Norris. He's just a tough guy who's difficult to take out. But Hopkins, so far, presents a little bit more of a strategic challenge to Jones than Roy may be used to.
Both men, when they're jabbing short. They're not jabbing through the guy. They're trying to get out of the way of punches before they land a punch.
Jones landed a right cross. Hopkins unmoved by the contact. Round one comes to a close. RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C., outdoors at night. And Riddick Bowe awaits his appearance as he has his hands taped by the legendary trainer Eddie Futch in his dressing room. Bowe has been customarily calm and relaxed, both at training camp at the Homestead in Virginia, Hot Springs, Virginia, and since coming here to Washington, D.C. to prepare for the fight.
All right. Get some defense. Get some defense.
Yes, indeed.
Be smart out there. Take your distance up. Take it up. Don't wait for him to give you nothing. Take it up. Keep the pressure on him. And punch in 2s and 3s. Don't worry about one big shot. Don't worry about it. It's going to come.
You're doing good.
It's going to come.
Okay. All right. That's good. Way to go, Steve. Keep up.
Well, that first round was an anticlimax if I've ever seen one. Joe? Yes, it was. Both fighters really showed a lot of respect for each other. As I pointed out, they're not even trying to really land a good solid jab. You see them pulling the jab back before it lands. There's Roy Jones again, jabbing short, and Hopkins jabbing short.
In fact, Gil, according to PunchStat numbers, they threw a combined 61 jabs in the first round, and 2 of them landed. Jones reaching over the top with the right hand. Appears determined to get just a little bit closer to Hopkins, though he's being cautious as he does so.
Well, what he's doing, Jim, he's throwing that jab, but he's trying to step back at the same time. You can't do that. It's first step in, then step back.
Left hook to the body by Hopkins.
Good left hook. Good solid left hook.
Partially blocked left hook by Roy Jones. Jones still short with the jab, and so is Hopkins. When we met with Roy Jones yesterday, he was in the middle of a 24-hour dry-out period to help him make weight. Did that affect him coming into tonight, Gil?
Well, not if they do it properly, Jim. If a fighter's in excellent condition and you drive, there's a good right hand by Jones over that slow left hand to Hopkins. But if in fact you do it properly, he had the from the weigh-in this morning, he had all this time to get the liquids back in his body, and if he didn't overdo that with the liquids, and if he ate properly, he's okay.
Told us that he would eat 2 meals, 1 in the morning, 1 late afternoon. Emphasis on carbohydrates. Jones knows a lot about his body for a young fighter. Hopkins with another right hand to the body, and Jones still trying to throw the right hand over the top. So far, Roy Jones has not attempted to get to Bernard Hopkins' body. Jones doesn't like to fight on the ropes. If Hopkins can maneuver Jones to the ropes, he has him in a place where the young fighter is uncomfortable.
Good solid left hand by Hopkins in that last exchange.
A little smile on Hopkins' face as they near the end of round 2. You get the sense that Bernard, the executioner Hopkins, trying to become Philadelphia's first middleweight champion ever, would you believe it, is gaining confidence, but maybe he loses some after that right hand by Jones.
First Philadelphia-born middleweight champion, Jim. Joey Girardello, a Philadelphia fighter, was a middleweight champion.
Way to go. I got it. Take deep breath. Deep breath. Okay, you done start touching him now. You got your range. You start feeling. So going to the head all the time, try to hit his body, then come back up. I'll set your pattern, okay? Doing good. Don't let him lay back. Take it to him, bro. Take it to him. You hear what I'm saying? Take it to him.
Give me a spit bucket. Give me a spit bucket up there. Spit bucket.
Come on, man.
No, the spit bucket. Go lay on the outside, son. All right. Take the fight to him. Take it to him with a level there.
Take it to him. He'll come to you. All right.
You heard in Jones' corner, they were advising him to throw some body punches. Jones seemed too eager to not get hit. Well, you got to be willing to take some kind of punch to land a good punch.
Well, that's what I was trying to point out. You sit there, he's trying to jab and get out of the way at the same time. You can't do both at once. It's only split-second timing, but you have to step in with the jab, land the jab, then move out of the way.
Neither fighter yet committed to aggression. It remains a cautious and tentative affair. The primary voice in Roy Jones's corner between rounds is that of trainer Alton Merkerson. And in the corner of Bernard Hopkins, you hear the voice of trainer Bowie Fisher. Interestingly, Fisher once trained Jesse Ferguson, who we'll see in the heavyweight championship bout later on.
Hopkins just came up and butted Jones right on the chin.
And referee Steve Smoger tells Jones not to hold Hopkins.
Let him out. That's it. Let him out. Quick, don't punch. Don't punch. Don't punch.
Jones seems very, very tight. Doesn't seem to be relaxed at all up to this point.
He looks far different than the Roy Jones who swaggered into the ring and destroyed the first two opponents we saw him with here on HBO. Hopkins still short with the jab.
Now Jones is boxing with his left hand down around his knee. I used to teach my fighters that jab to use every once in a while, Jim. I called it an up jab. It's very hard to block, but also it leaves your chin wide open. Neither guy has the confidence to really step in there with their punches at the moment.
It is a display of mutual respect so far, and one which is not likely to hold the attention of this audience for long. Overhand right by Jones lands in close quarters. And the left hand. Jones starting to get a little closer to Bernard Hopkins. Still missing with the jab. Now he sticks one into Hopkins' chin.
And again, that left hand is right down around his knee.
That's the position from which Muhammad Ali used to throw the jab.
Right hand, left hook, left back, and Hopkins answers with the right hand.
Roy landed the right hand over the top, but you're right, Bernard had an answer in reserve.
Is he daring him to throw the right hand when he keeps it down there, Gil?
No, I really think he's thinking offensively, Larry. I think it's just another way to throw the jab, another way to get at the guy.
Let's go.
Round 3 coming to a close. They have barely begun to move against each other.
Keep it on him. Keep the pressure on him.
What about that pressure?
Give me a spit bucket. Spit bucket right here. Keep it on him. Keep it on him. Don't wait for him to give you nothing. You're going to take it away from him. All right? Come on. All right, now you got yourself together now. You got yourself together.
You understand me? Take it to us in your pocket. Take it to us. From here on. Move your head and get in there and bang with both hands at this guy. You understand? The boy's fucking
Harold
scared to
Letterman,
death.
how did you see the first 3 rounds?
Larry, 3-0, 30-27, Roy Jones Jr. Larry, I think Roy's not only landing the better shots, but he's using the ring real nice, and his left jab is so quick, Bernard doesn't have a chance to get off. Every time Bernard gets near him and wants to throw the right hand, Roy sticks a left jab in his face. Roy's quick hands, I think, are winning the fight so far.
Well, I have also given Jones the first 3 rounds, but I have to admit that I'm glad it's chilly here at RFK Stadium because it's keeping me awake.
Well, you know, I think every round has been close. I've given 2 rounds to Jones and called 1 even, but they're very, very narrow margins.
Hopkins drives Jones into the ropes to begin round 4. Little wrestling match here.
And you know, as you had mentioned, Larry, after the second round, they advised Jones to go to the body. I'm still looking for him to throw a body punch.
I don't think he's thrown a single attempted body punch. Hopkins with 2 left hooks again drives Jones into the ropes, and you can see how uncomfortable Roy Jones is with his back against the ropes.
And Hopkins is very, very effective when he moves a guy against the ropes.
So things turning Bernard, the Executioner, Hopkins' way early here in round 4. If you like redemption stories, Hopkins is one. Spent 4 years in prison doing hard time for a chain snatching.
Good combinations by Roy Jones. Right hand, left hook, and there's another left hook, right hand. Those flashy, fast hands, very, very difficult to deal with.
Jones with a right hand over the top and another right hand in close. Still no body punching. But he has landed combinations which were virtually non-existent in the first 3 rounds of the fight. Hopkins misses the right hand. Again drives Jones into the ropes. Left hook was partially blocked.
Jones has these unorthodox moves, but he has so much talent, and his hands are so fast that he makes them work.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would try to change too much about him. Sometimes those unorthodox foot movements in the ring lead to explosive punching power.
Really not too much happening now. It's just a chess match.
Right hand landed inside for Jones.
Again, an unorthodox punch, Jim. I mean, these are combinations I've never seen before.
Another straight right hand. Jones now dispensing with the jab and throwing more right hand leads. Hopkins again scores effectively as Jones leans against the ropes. Round 4 comes to a close. Coming up, an interview with that man, Tommy Morrison, the heavyweight scheduled to go against George Foreman on the evening of Monday, June 7th. And that fight, TVKO special pay-per-view event, and how to get it into your home.
One shot is made.
All right. Hopkins is the better school fighter, but this isn't school. Maybe it's more of a schoolyard, the way Jones fights, Gil.
You know, you're absolutely right, Larry. Hopkins is very, very sound fundamentally. Good stance, snaps the left jab, keeps his hands up. And Roy Jones, with that tremendous talent and quickness that he has, negates a lot of that stuff. And he makes these moves so naturally. He jumps in with punches, I mean, which is a no-no. If he ever gets nailed jumping in, they'll be counting 10. But he's so quick. I'm sure that Hopkins has never been in a ring with a guy like Roy Jones.
Jones lands the left hand in close as Hopkins chases into the ropes. Certainly the more powerful blows so far have been landed by Jones, and Gil, he threw a body punch and another couple of body punches.
And two more, but you notice, Jim, that Hopkins, again, with his good fundamental defense, Jones is not able to get off those 5, 6, and 7 punch combinations as we have seen in the past.
No, but the body punch did set up a straight right hand, which Jones landed in close quarters. Against the ropes, it is all Hopkins.
How do you train for a fighter like Jones, Gil?
As we mentioned before,
you can't find a sparring partner
Hopkins
like that.
has probably never seen a guy that fights the way Roy Jones fights. I mean, I've been around a while. I haven't seen anybody, but right now Hopkins is really pressing Jones and making him work. Bang some good body shots in there.
Jones is going to have to find a formula for getting off the ropes when Hopkins traps him there, because it is scoring time for Bernard Hopkins whenever he gets Roy maneuvered against the ropes. Couple of left hooks to the body and one up top from Jones. Now Jones turns southpaw and turns back conventional.
And Jim, you had mentioned the fact that Roy Jones is having a problem making the weight. If in fact he really had a problem, the latter rounds could be very, very difficult for Roy Jones.
Come on, Roy.
So Jones turned southpaw for a moment to give Hopkins a different look, but didn't throw a punch from that stance. Now he's back to his conventional stance and back to the right-hand leads.
And Hopkins now has a swelling under his right eye.
Solid punches by Jones. The left hook to the chest landed. The commitment to body punching has represented a big improvement for Jones in this round. But no early knockout tonight. As 5 rounds are in the books, they fight their way past the bell at the end. Ever earned the right for a heavyweight championship shot? Coming into the fight with 4 losses in his last 6 bouts? Unlikely. And there is Bo as he warms up in his dressing room under the watchful eye of trainer Eddie Futch.
But you know, Jim, if he hadn't lost 4 of his previous 5, he wouldn't have gotten a shot at Mercer. That's why he got the chance.
Just don't wait so long for the outside, son. You got to take a fight to him with more than 1 punch. You must punch in series of punches, 2, 3, pause, lift them shot. Give me a little Vaseline here. Give me a little Vaseline.
As they go into round 6, according to PunchStat numbers, Bernard Hopkins is landing a paltry 14% of his punches, only 35 out of 250 attempts. Jones only slightly better, 60 out of 239, but that's 25%. If the judges were looking at these numbers, they would have to suspect that Jones has the edge in the bout.
You know, Larry, you asked me the question, how would I train a guy to fight Roy Jones? One thing I would tell my fighter if he was fighting Roy Jones was throw your punches at his chest. Don't try to hit him in the head. Throw them at his chest. His head will move into some of the punches. At least you're going to hit something and knock him a little bit off balance. I mean left hand and right hand.
Jones behaving in the past 2 rounds as though he has suddenly been told it is legal to punch to the body. Opened this round with some body punching to complement the body punches he threw in the last round after 4 rounds without a single such attempt.
Look at that beautiful move that Roy Jones made to escape from the ropes. Just unbelievable, just all natural talent.
Hopkins fighting back in the middle of the ring. Jones doubled up with the right hand. And now Hopkins back in the advantageous position of having Roy Jones pressed against the ropes. Jones just doesn't have the mechanics to turn that situation around, Gil.
Doesn't seem that way. One thing he should be doing, he should be moving, as he did, move out to his right and get away from those ropes. That's one of the things that a trainer should teach a fighter to do, is to escape from the ropes when he's on the ropes.
Jones landed a right hand and a left in that exchange, neither doing much damage. Hopkins comes over the top with the right, and Jones ducks under most of it.
And Hopkins threw some nice counter punches, short punches to the head after Jones flurried to the body. There's Jones throwing a beautiful double left hook.
Right hand over the top by Jones. He's landed as many clean blows in the last 20 seconds as had been the case to that point in the round.
Now he turns southpaw.
And again, doesn't throw a punch from that stance, simply turns and gives Hopkins the look, then turns back to the conventional stance. Hopkins becoming tentative in the last minute of round 6, allowing Jones to dictate to him from the center of the ring. If you're Bernard Hopkins' trainer, Bowie Fisher, you might want to advise your man to go back to the ropes as often as possible.
That seemed to be Hopkins' most effective.
And then you fire both of your hands.
He's going to have to get bolder and more aggressive. Harold, give us your score midway through this 12-rounder.
Larry, I've got it 6-0, 60-54, Roy Jones Jr. Larry, I just think Roy Jones Jr. is landing the better shots. He's very slippery. In round 6, he used a maneuver that I loved. He shoe-shined him. I mean, it was like a shoe-shine guy, you know, using a shoe-shine rig. Hit him 5 or 6 shots in the body. Beautiful combination. Roy Jones Jr., I think, is just winning on points.
I gave that last round to Hopkins, but so far this is a little bit like watching a congressman argue on C-SPAN.
Okay, Sam, we looking good. Way to work.
Round 7 of the continuing debate between Bernard Hopkins and Roy Jones. They're fighting for the IBF World Middleweight Championship vacated by James Toney when Toney moved up from 160 to 168 pounds. For either fighter, it will be the first world title of his career.
I'd like to see one of the two fighters really start to establish a left jab. They've both been short with their jabs all night long because they respect the other guy too much. Good left hook by Hopkins.
Neither fighter with a lot of snap on his punches here in round 7. And at this point, Gil, I have to suspect that there is some credence to the story that Roy Jones had trouble making weight and may not be ideally trained for the fight. He just looks lazy in the upper body compared to his previous appearances on these airwaves.
Well, it seems to me, Jim, that somehow I mentioned that he was tight before the fight. I don't know whether it's his weight or the pressure of this fight. I think he's a little tight in the fight up to this point.
Let's remember, Hopkins is the best fighter he's ever been in there with, and that's also making him tight.
Jones trying to deliver one of the combinations for which he's become known. Hopkins, straight left hand.
And Hopkins is committing the same sin that Jones commits. Every time he throws a jab, it's short. He tries to get out of the way at the same time he's throwing the punch.
Hopkins beginning to duck away from Roy's combinations a little bit. Now he chases Jones for the ropes again.
And he muscles him back against the ropes. Look how quick that Jones is, though. Just natural talent.
And Jones is starting to counter more effectively off the ropes, Bill. Maybe beginning to get more comfortable in there.
That looked like a Pernell Whitaker escape move with Jones. Looked like he was trying to walk across the ring.
That time Hopkins is unsuccessful in trying to trap Jones against the ropes. Their left arms are locked, or Jones's left is locked into Hopkins' right, I should say, and now referee Steve Swoger finally breaks them apart. Good body punching by Roy Jones.
Don't punch, step.
Something happened.
Well, he has to hit something when he throws his punches. He can't pull back with that jab. As I had mentioned earlier, if I had a guy fighting Jones, I'd be throwing punches at his chest. So at least you hit something and you move him with the first punch. And if you move him with the first, then you can hit him with a couple of more punches, hopefully. But he's like Quicksilver, though. He's very, very difficult to hit with solid punches.
Part of the disadvantage of staying in a boxing match with Jones is that Jones's stylishness and flashiness are bound to earn him some subliminal points. Now Hopkins lands a couple of punches and again pins Jones against the ropes momentarily. Together, Gil, they're landing 10% of their jabs.
And again, Hopkins threw a right hand and Roy Jones, good left hook to the body. Jones pulled his head back to get away from the right hand. Muhammad Ali could get away with that. I've never seen anybody else been able to do it except Roy Jones.
Jones landed a left hook. A little bit looser in the upper body right now, or so it seems, and was the case through the first half of the fight.
Good right hand by Hopkins. Caught Jones coming in.
Another good right hand.
Two good solid right hands by another good right hand.
Jones seems momentarily off balance as the result of the 3 straight right hands from Bernard Hopkins. No warning for a low blow. Jones was just under the belt line with the left hook.
That encouraged Hopkins. He's throwing that right hand. There's another right hand by Hopkins on the inside.
And as Hopkins begins to throw the right, Jones tries to come with the left.
Jones is switching to southpaw. He's really trying to confuse Hopkins now.
And now he finally throws a punch from that stance, and it's an effective left hook.
And Hopkins countered with another right hand. Good left hook by Hopkins.
Well, few observers here would have expected this fight to go to a 12-round decision, but it remains mostly a boxing match, now almost 2/3 of the way through the scheduled 12 rounds. Southpaw again for Jones, and again he stops punching as he turns to that stance. Left hook by Jones puts the finishing touches on round number 8.
And at the bell, Hopkins went back to his corner and nodded to his people that he thinks he has found something here.
Let's get it in there. Let's get that right hand inside.
Watch it now.
Hold him now.
Give me some deep breaths.
Be deep. Be deep.
Surrender. Give me some deep breaths. No. Keep it on his head. Keep it on his head. Got it, baby. I got you. Keep getting the language. Make him change. When he changes, you are catch it. Make him over top. Just a nice round. On his head.
Now here's about the first time we've had a chance to show you something significant in a replay. And there you saw it. Hopkins lead right hand.
Touch this lane with body shots. Bang him. Rough him up.
Neither fighter landing a significant percentage of punches. Hopkins landing a very insignificant percentage of punches.
Well, now, if Hopkins nodded to his corner and said that he thinks he found the key, let's see if he really has.
Round 9 has another C-SPAN beginning.
Now Jones is starting to stiffen up that left jab, getting a little closer with it.
Leaning forward more with the upper body, Gil, committing to it just a little bit more. No longer trying to run away and jab at the same time. Left hook as Hopkins comes in. Left to the body by Jones.
He's just so quick, Jones. There he made a mistake. He led with the right hand. Missed, but he didn't have to pay for the mistake because he's so quick. Jones gets some leverage on that left hook to the body.
If he had used it in the first 6 rounds, or the first 4 or 5 rounds anyway, he might have a more commanding lead than you suspect is the case at this moment.
Well, I have Jones well ahead in the fight, but again, I mentioned a lot of close rounds. He's so quick, Jones. He does things that you just don't see other fighters do.
Of course, our unofficial scorer, Harold Letterman, at last look had given every round to Jones, but logic tells you most boxing judges, when scoring a fight, are psychologically constrained not to give every round to one fighter.
Well, it is very difficult. I mean, the other guy is in there, and he is causing some damage. But again, the big mistake that Hopkins is making, he's trying to hit Jones to the head with that first punch, and Jones is just too quick. Big right hand by Jones.
Roy Jones becoming more accurate as the fight goes on. About 2 rounds ago, he began to reach toward the 50% mark in connect percentage.
Jones is starting to breathe a little heavily, Jim. Starting to show signs of wear and tear.
Hopkins leaning on Jones against the ropes.
Come here. Step out.
Bernard Hopkins, 3 years older than Roy Jones at 27. Right hand by Jones landed as round 9 comes to a close.
All right, champ. All right.
Jones has never been in a long, grueling fight like this.
Get away from the tight.
Hopkins has had a couple of long fights.
Okay. Hold this cup out. Okay, there you go. There you go. All right. There you go. There you go. All right. You ain't do we talked about that round. You ain't got to bang. You got to bang, okay?
Harold Letterman, give us your scorecard through 9 rounds.
Gil, I've got it 90-81, 9-0 Roy Jones. I just think that he's winning this fight with the power shots. He, you know, Bernard Hopkins put pressure on him, but it's effective aggressiveness that counts, and Bernard Hopkins, when he moves in, is just not effective enough to win a round. Roy Jones is landing the better shots, the harder shots, the cleaner shots. I think he's winning this fight clearly. I think Hopkins needs a knockout to win.
Well, I agree that Hopkins needs something very dramatic to win this fight, but I have it 7 rounds to 2.
And again, I make the point that most boxing judges, after giving one fighter several rounds, will begin to try to find a reason to give a round to the other guy. They want to stay on the same page and not be too extreme.
Well, especially when there have been so many close rounds, there's a tendency to say, I gave the other man some of the close rounds, I'm going to give it to this guy.
Yeah, let's even it up.
All of that is by way of saying that we don't expect the official judges for the fight to be emulating Harold's whitewash evaluation. Hopkins leaning in and trying to force Jones back onto the ropes. Jones landed nearly half his punches by punch count numbers in the last round.
There was another example of Jones leading with a left hook and missing it, and still able to land a left hook to the body.
He turns southpaw again and again tries to land the left from the southpaw stance. Now he stays and jabs with the right hand for the first time. Turns back conventional.
He's starting to feel good, Jim, because he just let out a whoop, a wall. I guess it's a wall whoop you call it. Jones.
And he scores with a combination and then backs away from the ropes effectively. Lands the right hand over the top. That wide winging right hand, you wouldn't teach it, but he makes it work, Gil.
Again, we mentioned he's like lightning, and he's such an unorthodox guy. And Larry gave me that puzzle, how I'd train a guy to fight him. It really is a puzzle. I mean, you just can't hit this guy with the first punch you throw. And Hopkins, again, is looking all night to hit him on the chin. And it's just such an elusive target. You have to set him up.
Jones has not been able to hurt Hopkins at any time in the bout. You suspect that Roy has less punching power, or at least less punching power tonight than had been anticipated. Or does Hopkins have a terrific chin, Gil?
No, I think it's a question that he hasn't hit Hopkins with that many solid punches. Hits him 2 or 3 in a row, we may see some funny things happen.
Left hand by Jones. Hopkins smiles. Usually that means the fighter is hurt a little bit.
Now, how did you like that move, Jimmy? Threw a left hook and then ran halfway across the ring and stopped quickly and nailed Hopkins again. You can't teach anybody that. That's natural talent.
Well, the comparisons, maybe too many of them, have been made to Ray Leonard. Leonard, too, used his incredible physical skills to do unorthodox things in the ring.
Yeah, but I've seen Ray Leonard, and Roy Jones is no Ray Leonard.
Not yet, that's for sure. Jones using the fast hands to try to dominate these exchanges. Round 10 comes to a close. And there is Bo as he warms his body up. Edgman Lewis there, one of the assistants to Eddie Futch. Futch himself, the octogenarian trainer, watching in close quarters.
I'll take it one more time. I got it. You just grab the bucket. As soon as y'all hear that second dive, go. That's Kate. You need these
See
rounds.
there that Roy Jones prepares to enter the 11th round for the first time in his career.
Jones has hit Hopkins with what he calls his chin checkers. And really nothing much has happened. Hopkins is right there.
Again, because he hasn't hit him with any solid combinations, Larry. It's leap in, one quick punch, but he just hasn't been able to put them together. against a good, solid defensive fighter. Hopkins is just not fighting a good offensive fight.
Win the fight, he becomes the fourth 1988 American Olympian to have won a world title. He'll join Michael Carbajal, Riddick Bowe, and Kennedy McKinney.
I think I know how Bernard Hopkins feels about this time in the fight, and it's almost a sure thing that after the fight's over, he's going to be disappointed in his performance and say, get him for me again. And when some of my fighters, I bring it back to the dressing room and they'd lose a fight and they'd say, get him for me again. I'll say, why? You just had him. And that's exactly the situation here.
Hopkins is going to believe that he wasn't aggressive enough, right?
He's going to say, well, I did it all wrong. I kept waiting all night to land a big punch and it never came along, instead of trying to set it up. I mean, I can't believe the things that Jones can get away with in the ring. That time he fought with his right hand, brought his left hand all the way behind him, and Hopkins still couldn't land a solid punch.
Jones talking to referee Steve Smoger, asking him to ask Hopkins to let his right hand go. Smoger did nothing, and eventually Hopkins stepped away. Right cross lands solidly on Hopkins' chin, and Bernard once again doesn't move.
Mentioning referee Steve Smoger, I think he's done a great job in this fight. A couple of times these guys tried to fight after the bell, and he was right there when the bell rang to stop the action.
He's a good referee.
I think one of the best. In good condition, moves around well, and controls the fight.
An East Coast referee, works out of New Jersey and New York. You don't see him when we go out to Las Vegas.
Come on out.
Round 11 comes to a close.
One round away. One more, baby. Let's sign this round, baby. Let's sign this round. Give me some hands. Give me some hands. I don't want him to land on you at all. I don't want you to take no chance. No chances at all. I want you keeping him on the end of your punches, but stay busy. Keep them hands going and your feet going, okay?
Last one, baby.
This is it. This is it, boy. This is it. Show me go.
Give me some deep. Give me some deep.
Let it go, baby.
You can do it. I know you can do it. You got the double drill.
Hit this one, rock with that double drill. Bang, 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 bam, anybody.
You got to go with the double drill. On his head.
All right. Pull the stool down and I'll take your towel and get it.
Oh, good for it. Let me stand up.
Okay. Okay, let's go.
And final round of applause for these two middleweights. Final round.
Well, all of us assume
Right here.
that Bernard Hopkins needs
roll.
a knockout to win this fight. Perhaps one or two judges disagrees.
You may have heard Hopkins' promoter, Butch Lewis, between rounds, urging him to shoot the right hand. He hasn't landed a lot of rights. Jones appears intent on controlling round 12 with his jab and his foot movement. In case you've just joined us, this is HBO's World Championship Boxing, the first half of a doubleheader. Olympic star of the 1988 Seoul Games, Roy Jones, denied a gold medal by an unjust decision, but voted the outstanding boxer in those games, trying to win his first world championship, the vacant IBF middleweight title.
Jones is
the number
throwing some
2
beautiful...
contender. Excuse me, Gil, go ahead.
Jones has been throwing some beautiful combinations, Jim. For a change, he's going to the body first, then back up to the head. But he does such an unorthodox things. Hopkins thinks he has him trapped against the ropes, and he just does the unexpected.
These are the top two contenders in the IBF rankings. They fight for the title vacated when James Toney moved up to 168 pounds. One of them about to become a world champion for the first time.
I think Jones would certainly have his hands full with Toney, who's such a good defensive fighter.
Well, Hopkins is a good defensive fighter. I just don't think that he attacked Jones right from the beginning of the fight. You can just see that Jones is just outsmarts him. It's like cat and mouse the entire fight.
So the irony is that while Jones may pick up his first world championship, this performance is likely to diminish the luster of his image somewhat.
Well, again, he took a big step up in class. Bernard Hopkins is a good, solid fighter. And it shows. He's fighting a good, solid professional.
It takes a good opponent to allow you to look your best, which is why I said earlier on, lower expectations.
Good call, Larry.
It's unfair to a fighter, I believe, to expect him to look like Mr. America or Mr. World every time out. The opponent has something to say about it.
Here's the good news, guys. This bout has done nothing to dilute the excitement potential for our big heavyweight championship fight upcoming. The crowd has retained all of its potential enthusiasm.
That's it, fellas. That's it, fellas. That's it, fellas.
Both fighters circled the ring with hands held high. And now the judges will go to work and tell us who has won the vacant IBF World Middleweight title. An unmemorable fight between Roy Jones and Bernard Hopkins.
Before I go up in the ring, I'll tell you that I've scored it 9 rounds to 3 for Jones, 117 to 111 points. And Harold Letterman will give us his scorecard shortly.
Larry, I've got it 118, 110, 10 rounds to 2, Roy Jones Jr. I thought he rested slightly in the last 2 rounds. I thought Bernard Hopkins pulled out 11 and 12 because Roy just didn't do a heck of a lot, and Bernard took it to him. One thing I'll say for Bernard Hopkins, he's got a big heart, a tremendous jaw. He takes a great shot, and he just keeps on coming. But taking a good shot don't win rounds, and Roy Jones Jr. landed too many good punches. Bernard Hopkins, a big heart, a well-marketed fighter. I love the act, but Roy Jones Jr. won the fight.
Now, Harold, did we bully you off for that whitewash? Did you find yourself looking in the last 3 rounds for a way to give a couple of rounds to Bernard Hopkins? Is that what happened?
Larry, Jim, the truth of the matter is that any judge will look to throw him around here and there. But I think Hopkins did pull out legitimately the last 2 rounds.
Right now, let's go to ring announcer Michael Bumper for the official decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the scorecards, and all 3 judges, Lynn Carter, Eugene Grant, and Al DeVito, scored the bout 116 to 112 for the winner by unanimous decision. And now the IBF middleweight champion of the world, Roy Jones Jr.
Well, Gil, what do you think?
Well, I thought that Roy Jones clearly won the fight. I had it a little wider than 116, 112. Bernard Hopkins tried his game, took a good punch, but he never was in the fight offensively, in my opinion.
Ultimately, these scores will not be remembered, nor will much of the action here. It was, at best, a tactical battle. Final punch stat numbers for the 2 fighters. You can see that Jones wound up landing 35%. After a very desultory start in the first few rounds. In the closing rounds of the fight, he was landing at about a 50% rate. Hopkins never got far above the 20% level, 23% connect percentage for the fight. Therein lay the difference in the scoring. And now let's go up to Larry Merchant with the new middleweight champ.
Roy Jones, congratulations. This has been a long time coming. I know you've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely been a long time coming, and it's something I was looking forward to. I knew I was going to have a tough time. I got to take my head to Bernard Hopkins, man. He's a tough guy. I promise he's a tough guy. But I just basically outboxed and stayed on the outside. In the inside, he couldn't really do me a lot of harm, and I could stay inside of his power, so he wasn't really that dangerous. He landed a couple good shots, but he never really had me hurt, so I was pretty safe. I got hit a little more than I wanted to, but it's the world title my first time. Hey, Pensacola, we #1, baby.
Are you satisfied with your performance?
Tonight, that was my first title fight as the world title. I had a lot of pressure on me, so.
Were you tight a little bit?
I was very tight coming to the fight. I had so much build up on me, and being like I am, I kind of expected that, but I thank God Almighty I made it through that one, and that won't happen anymore. That was my first time, and that was that.
Are you looking to move up to fight someone like James Toney, or do you want to fight at 160?
I think I'll stick at 160 for just a little while longer. I kind of like fighting at 160, and like I say, I got to thank God for winning my title. I'll go home, think about things. I may move up, you never know, but right now I'm just happy I got the title. Thank everybody at home for supporting me. Thank all my cousins, Carol, Toya in Atlanta, everybody all back home, the Lixies, everybody. I just had a good time.
Looking forward to fighting again on HBO. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.